the City Council to order. Welcome everyone who's in the audience tonight, who's in the meeting, and also those of you watching the meeting on GTN. Before we get started, I did want to make a little bit of a announcement and make some remarks. Starting last evening, we had a story that popped up on social media about a business that was cited for flying service flags, military service flags. That incident did not occur in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It occurred in Jacksonville, Florida. The story just happened to go viral. I mean, it was all over everywhere. And this morning, I know some of the council members here in the city manager's office, and probably you, Carmen, everybody got emails about how could we be so awful to do what we did to this veteran business owner. And I agree, it was awful, but unfortunately, we did not do it. Would not do it. The story, like I said, it went viral, but a lot of people mistakenly thought that it was our city, our Jacksonville, and it was not our Jacksonville. But it does give us an opportunity to repeat how proud we are of our military family here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. We are very proud to be able to fly the flags, the military service flags that represent the 5 services of our country. We do so prominently right out here in front of City Hall in this island over here, the triangle here, where we have our Freedom Fountain that celebrates the passing of all military personnel that have served in our armed forces that have passed through our community. What a tribute. You know, a lot of communities that house military installations haven't done that, but we feel so fortunate to have our military here with us, that we honor them this way. And we're very fortunate to have a community that has been made so diverse and such a wonderful place. It's kind of like it's a unique city. One that I'm very proud of. I was born and grew up here in Jacksonville, and and some of you have been too, not just me, but we're very proud to see, we're proud of our past, but we're also proud of where we've got, how far we've come and where we're going. So without any further ado though, this is Jacksonville, North Carolina, where we all receive our troops and the heroes that are amongst us. They are very welcome in our community, and they can fly their service flags, and we're not going to cite them for it. So. I did take it on myself to answer, put out a little blurb on my own Facebook page in response to it, at least to touch a lot of the people that I had contact, on social media. So hopefully we are resolving this a little bit at a time. So
we are a caring community.
We are that. We are a caring community. We're going to start now with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Council Member Angela Washington, followed by the invocation by John Carter, our City Attorney. Please rise.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, as always, we pause to give you thanks. To give you thanks for this beautiful day, for your blessings upon us as a city of Jacksonville, and also your blessings upon us each individually. We remember tonight the passing of 2 very special ladies, Ms. Annette Hargett and Miss Betty Sanders Seavey. These 2 ladies were very servant-minded and were very much in giving and making our community and our city a better place to live. We pray your comfort to be with their families. And as always, we give thanks for our military. We give thanks for their presence in our community. We pray for their safety. We pray for their anxious families. Give direction and guidance to your mayor and council. All this we ask in your holy name. Amen. Amen.
right, council, you've been given a copy of the agenda for tonight's meeting ahead of time, and at this time, I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we have a presentation tonight, and for that, I will come around the front here. I'd like to invite the Public Safety Director, Mike Muir, to join me up front, please. And what we're doing tonight, we're doing a proclamation for Peace Officers Memorial Day, which is always held in the month of May. And this is National Police Week, May 13th through the 19th, and includes Peace Officers Memorial Day, which is actually May 15th of 2018. The city is pleased to issue a proclamation, and I will read this proclamation out loud. Whereas each day law enforcement officers encounter grave risks to protect the rights and freedoms we enjoy as citizens. Their commitment and sacrifice make our streets safer, our neighborhoods stronger, and our families more secure. And whereas we pause during Police Week, and in particular on Peace Officers Memorial Day, to honor those officers who made the ultimate sacrifice while performing their sworn duty. And whereas we pause to honor the law enforcement officers in North Carolina who lost their lives in the line of duty during 2017. And whereas, because each fallen peace officer is one too many, it is important that our citizens know and understand the dedication, duties, and responsibilities of their police department and the necessity for cooperating with them in maintaining law and order. And whereas law enforcement officers protect the lives and property of their fellow citizens, from patrolling our highways to investigating crime to protecting victims' rights, these committed professionals make a valuable difference in our community. Now, therefore, I, Sammy Phillips, the mayor of the city of Jacksonville, do hereby proudly proclaim May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day in the city of Jacksonville, and I urge all citizens to honor the service and the sacrifice of all of our law enforcement officers. Chief, I'm going to present you with a copy of the proclamation. And I did want to make mention that our observance this year, again, like I said, will be held on May 15th at the new Peace Officers Memorial on Cheney Avenue, which is located directly behind the Center for Public Safety. And this will, we would like for you to join us at the ceremony at 10 a.m. on the 15th. Chief, you want to say a few words?
Yes, that Public Safety Memorial, you'll be dedicating that to the first responders that have served the city of Jacksonville. There's also an opportunity to purchase bricks in remembrance of officers who have passed away and firefighters who have passed away. So we encourage our citizens and their families, the families of first responders, if they want to order a brick to honor them as we dedicate this new public safety memorial to our community.
That's great. Thank you very much. Folks, that brings us to our first section of public comment for the evening. I have the sheet. It was taken up with no names. Nobody signed up to speak at the public comment period. However, sometimes we pick this thing up a little bit earlier and may not have given you a chance to sign it. If so, if you're here, you want to speak at public comment, please raise your hand to be recognized. All right, nobody's raising their hand, so we're going to move along. We have the adoption of minutes from the April 3rd, 2018 workshop meeting, and we have our consent items that are on the agenda for tonight, and I would entertain a motion to adopt the consent, minutes and the consent items.
Move up.
Mayor Phillips, I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes and consent items.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion carries. That will move us down to item number 5 on the agenda for tonight. This is a petition for voluntary contiguous annexation of the McCray Farms LLC. It's a 24.21 acre tract. Deputy City Manager Ron Massey will be presenting this.
Mayor and council, this voluntary annexation petition was received from McRae Farms LLC for 3 tracts totaling 24.21 acres that are contiguous to the current city limit boundaries. The tracts are a portion of a larger property located on Western Boulevard near Commons Drive North and adjacent to city-owned property. The developers propose to build a commercial shopping development consisting of an anchor grocery store and several storefront shops, restaurants, and several out parcels. The financial analysis shows a positive net cash flow of approximately $1,070,000 over the 5-year review period. Staff recommends the council adopt the annexation ordinance as presented.
Right. Council, we're required to conduct a public hearing in this matter, so at this time I'll recess the regular council meeting and open the public hearing on this matter here. Is there anyone present wishes to speak as to this matter? Seeing no one, I'm going to close the public hearing and reconvene the council meeting. Council, you're being asked to consider this annexation ordinance.
Before you do, John and I need to make a clarification on the map you just saw.
Okay.
Go back to the map, Glenn, that you have. That particular map,
Track 3C is not included.
the tract A, can you see tract A? That's the first tract. That's clearly there. And then B and C3 is, again, all colored. That's not the way it is. There is actually, tract A is being bought by the developer. That's where the shopping center would go. On tract C3, there is a easement that goes to the stormwater pond, and the stormwater pond then has a discharge. That's all that's going to be brought in as far as the annexation goes. And that's because that tract C3 and B is being retained by McCray Farms for future, they're going to hopefully make that pond a larger pond later on. So he's giving them an easement to use that stormwater pond there. And I'm sorry that, but again,
Yeah, the graphic is not correct. The
Correct.
legal description that's in your packet
is correct. If there's any questions,
Any question of Mr. Carter about that map clarification? Okay, council, any other comments or questions? I'd entertain a motion now to, we already got a motion in a second, don't we?
yes, sir.
All right, so all we need to do is vote. So all those in favor
We
signify.
don't have any motion.
We don't have the motion, okay.
I'll go ahead and make the motion to adopt the annexation ordinance as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further comment? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Next item is number 6, and this is a proposed fiscal year 2018-2019 budget. And Dr. Woodruff will be, city manager will be presenting this item. Dr. Woodruff.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Each year, the city government is required by state law to adopt a balanced budget. Our fiscal year is July 1 through June 30th. Part of the state requirement is that we hold a public hearing. I want to make sure the public understands that tonight we're not asking you to adopt a budget because we still have many workshops, as we'll see in a second. The purpose of tonight's meeting, though, is to allow citizens to come forth and express their thoughts about services with city government, anything they'd like to see us expand in the way of capital projects, or just make general comments about the tax rate and how they feel the city is operated. Real quickly, you don't adopt just one budget. You adopt a general fund budget, which includes the normal things we think of for government as far as fire, police, building inspections, and so forth. But you also adopt a water and sewer fund budget, solid waste budget, stormwater, internal services, a capital improvement, and then, of course, our 3 ERP, which is our equipment replacement plan. There's certain assumptions that we have built into the budget. The first is that there will be a revenue-neutral property tax rate, that sales tax will increase slightly, Powell bill funding will decrease slightly, franchise taxes will stay steady. We're not proposing a stormwater fee increase. We know that Duke Electric increased about 12%, that's built into the budget, and no increase in solid waste fees. When you look at the general fund balance, which is basically the spendable savings account for the city, you can see that based upon the city council's informal policy, that over the years we have certainly built that fund, and it is important that we continue to have a very healthy fund balance, especially given the fact that we're located so close to the coast and we could have natural disasters. You've asked us to try to have something in the vicinity of a 20% contingency or fund balance, and you can see the number that we have here. From an ad valorem standpoint, we're projecting only modest growth. You can see the comparison between 2018 and 19. You can see again sales tax, we're predicting about 300,000 increase. Unrestricted intergovernmental funds are almost the same as are the restricted funds, and then charges for services. This is a general comparison that shows you how we spend the tax dollar. For FY19, the fiscal year that would begin July 1 of 18, continuing through June 30th of 19, you can see that the bulk of your property tax is going to go to police and fire, and then to solid waste and public services. You can see at the bottom, our draft budget at this point, which obviously is still a work in process, is about $47 million. Where does your property tax go? Again, this graphic shows police and fire consuming about 91% of your property tax. Capital reserve, you still have 4 cents that you set aside each year for your capital projects. That brings in about $359,000 for each penny of tax. We're projecting that for this fiscal year, that will bring in about $1.4 million. Currently, the fund balance in that is just under $500,000. Here are some initiatives that have been built using the 4-cent fund. Jacksonville Landing was debt. It is now paid off with the 18 year. City Hall renovation is now paid off in the current fiscal year. You can see the public services and fleet building will be paid off in 2019, the proposed fiscal year. In FY22, you will have made your last payment on Rails to Trails, and in 27, you'll make your last payment on Sturgeon City. For a city our size to have that little general debt is really amazing, and you and your predecessors are to be commended, but it's also a comment and a compliment to you that you are paying down all of this debt, because very shortly you will see that only the Rails to Trails program and the Sturgeon City building will be the only general fund debt that will remain with the city. Jacksonville Landing, we mentioned. Many of you lived through the days of retrofitting City Hall. You also remember the days that the public services and fleet site were built, the Rails to Trails being completed, and obviously we're very proud of the fact that Sturgeon City Environmental Education Center is now under construction. Currently, you're at the public hearing. Tonight you held your 3rd workshop. There are proposed workshops throughout the month of May and on into June, provided that we adopt the budget no later than June the 30th. At this time, we would open the floor to the public for any comments they may have, and also answer questions you may have, Mayor and Council.
First off, Council, any questions of Dr. Woodruff before we? Okay. This time, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing in this matter. Is there anyone present that wishes to speak as to the budget? If so, please indicate by raising your hand and be recognized. Doesn't look like anyone, so we're going to close the public hearing. You did make mention of the display of the text of the budget at the library and at City Hall, correct?
Actually, I did not, sir. Carmen, would you refresh my memory and the public's memory as where they can view the budget and how they can also view it online?
It is online at our city webpage at www.jacksonvillec.gov. It is also available at the library, and it is available in my office as well,
Here at City Hall.
here at City Hall, yes.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Dr. Woodruff. That brings us to item number 7. This is a civic index presentation and complete count committee designation. Dr. Don Herring.
Good evening, Mayor Phillips, elected city council members, and Dr. Woodruff. On behalf of the Onslow Civic Affairs Committee, it's my pleasure tonight to be joined by Ms. Carol Long, we're members of the Onslow Civic Affairs Committee, and we also appreciate the service of Councilmember Jerry Bittner, who also serves on this committee. The Onslow Civic Affairs Committee is a joint committee that is centered around appointees from the city and the county. We greatly appreciate the efforts of the city and the county in allowing this nonpartisan committee to come together and work on behalf of our elected leaders in the areas of civic education. Tonight, with Ms. Carol Long and I, we're going to make a very brief presentation regarding the Civic Index. The Civic Index is a nationally developed process. It has a standard guide that we go by. The standard guide was established, and the Civic Index process was established by the National Civic League, and it was developed for the process to help evaluate a community civics infrastructure. And for this purpose, infrastructure refers to the formal and informal process and networks by which communities make decisions and attempt to solve problems. The quality of a community civics infrastructure contributes to the community's health, whether it's economic, civic, or social. So tonight, our Civic Index and our recommendations, or the outcome of this, of our study through the Civic Index, is by those areas that we found that our group are doing well and areas that might need some improvement or enhancement. So this time, I'll turn it over to Carol to outline the Civic Index process and talk about those areas that we found that we were doing well.
Thank you. Good evening. Our community began looking at the Civic Index in 1988 as part of a quest to achieve All-American City status. That designation was won in 1992, and a vow was made to continue reviewing the Civic Index to continue collaborative efforts to improve our community. The Onslow Civic Affairs Committee, created in 1999, was given the task to regularly review the Civic Index and to offer this report to our elected officials. As you know, the Onslow Civic Affairs Committee was collaboratively created by the Onslow Board of Commissioners and Jacksonville City Council, and each appoint members to this committee. The committee members are active citizens, but agree that they do not know everything about our community, but we're learning. They bring a representative sampling to the questions asked by the index. We're now going to share some areas of strength within our community and some areas where improvements should be made. First, some of the things that the community is doing right. Collaboration is at the top of the list. As evidenced by the recent State of the Community address, collaboration, partnerships, and working together is a priority and high-profile community leaders. The committee also believes there is a basic goodness that has preserved throughout our community and is demonstrated by our residents regularly. Another strength is our collective pride in our community. No member of the committee felt our community was a failure or not worth investing time to make improvements.
So while we found many strengths to celebrate and continue to collaborate with, we also, in the spirit of continuous improvement, found there were some areas in our community that need to be further developed, enhanced, or further expanded. First, in the area of development, we as a group, our Civic Affairs group, felt there's a need to continue to develop a shared and public vision for our community. There needs to be a documented, publicly shared vision for what the community can become. There are many components, and in some cases fragments, of great vision statements and great components out here amongst several elected bodies here. Our work to bring that together is of great interest. The second area of development would be the development of a community warehouse of digital documents. This would help citizens better understand and gain access to information about local, state, and federal government. Technology has changed public information, but in some cases it's created challenges as to how the public finds government documents. For example, many citizens do not understand the difference in a school board, a county commission, a local town government, or in what cases which roads are locally controlled and supported and which roads are state controlled and supported. Our community must embrace all forms of communication and must work to continue to expand our access to quality information to all those so that they can readily receive information and obtain it in a timely manner. An area of enhancement we'd like to recommend would be in the area in such a proud military community, as was evidenced tonight. We'd like to also continue to improve our efforts to welcome our new residents, many which are military connected, or dependents. There are also good existing programs out here, but our committee feels a more systematic and well-publicized effort is needed. Anytime we can put out a good hand of welcome to our new community members, whether they're here short-term or choose to retire here, it creates a win-win. And finally, an area of expansion we'd like to recommend or bring for consideration is that we expand active recruitment, encouragement, and mentoring of our potential leaders, which would also produce a better community in the future. Currently, there are wonderful examples of new leader development and citizen education in citizen academies, leadership programs, civic education, and other projects. But we must continue to expand these avenues, and these extended avenues must be reviewed in order to attract more potential leaders, develop potential leaders, and help them grow at whatever stage, whether they're youth or exiting military or retirees that join our community, that we help grow these leaders in any way possible here. Now, in closing, the complete civic index findings are online on the county and city's website. The city index process took multiple meetings to complete and required in-depth discussions not only with our members but with stakeholders. And we hope you'll consider using this as a resource that provide insights from our well-meaning citizens here. So in conclusion, our Civic Affairs Committee is pleased to have made this presentation, and we're pleased to continue the tasks that are assigned to us by our elected officials, and we respectfully ask you to accept this report from our committee. Thank you.
Council, any questions of Dr. Herring or Ms. Long?
Good presentation.
Thank you very much. We're being asked to consider the report and also designation of this committee, the Complete Count Committee. So somebody want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
Randy.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we appoint the Onslow County Civic Affairs Committee with auxiliary members and partners to complete, as the Complete Count Committee for the 2020 census.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, we appreciate that. And as the Complete Count Committee, we look forward to being the community representative on behalf of the county commissioners and, most importantly, the city council here, and helping to educate and to resolve any communication differences as we get the census out. The census is a very important document for counting our community here, and it has a big impact on our economic and future growth areas there. And anytime we can go out and be a part of that or be an asset to our elected bodies to help get this information out, it's our pleasure. Thank you.
It's a big job. It's a big job.
Well,
for
we look
sure.
forward to being a part of that.
You know,
Thank you.
and, educating people is the main thing. It's very important because a lot of times people don't understand the complete importance of this whole situation with the census and making sure that we do get an accurate count. But thank you for taking that effort, making that effort.
Thank you very much.
Just one last comment. Want to thank y'all for what part y'all played in getting the change to count the home of record
Yes.
for the military situation
Absolutely.
changed, so that instead of a home port, it's now going to be wherever they were deployed from. So thank you so much for those changes.
That was a big victory, but we do not take that victory for granted because it's this continuous education process of our newly stationed members here, and when they have deployed members out, getting that word out so that we can get them to fill out those, the count committee, civic information, and census information will be very important. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Okay, that concludes the business. Right now, we'll go to the reports, and I'm going to start down with Mr. Jackson on the reports for tonight.
Okay, I guess one of the things that I was involved with this, within the last month was the freedom fight that took place at Jacksonville Senior High School. But it started out actually before that when Leon Spinks was inducted into the Jacksonville Onslow Sports Hall of Fame. As many know, Leon Spinks was stationed here as a young Marine prior to actually going to the Olympics and then eventually becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. Got a chance to sit down and meet with him, and my mom got a chance to take a picture with him, and it was a very enjoyable time. They had a banquet on Saturday, this past Saturday, and which brought in a lot of former fighters and Marines from around the country, and I heard even a few was from outside the country. So that helped fill some seats and fill some beds in our hotels, and it's just a great event that Mike Klein, retired Sergeant Major Mike Klein, and the others, it was involved with that, and really was a joy to have it here in Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that report. Mr. Bittner?
No report.
Mayor Pro Tem Lazara?
No, the only comment I have, Mayor, is to thank Richard and his team on the way that they structure the budget. It's very helpful, and, building up is easier than coming down, and the way that you present the budget is very helpful. I know, at least for me, I think we do it the right way, and the citizens can feel proud about how we build the budget and not make decisions till the end on the extras. So anyways, thank you and your team for the work that you do.
Mayor Phillips, I had the opportunity to attend some of the same functions that Councilmember Jackson attended, and we started off on Thursday with the Hall of Fame, the Jacksonville Onslow County Sports Hall of Fame, and we started off on a sad note because Mr. Edward Mason, that was being inducted into the Hall of Fame, passed away that morning. So my prayers go out to his family. It was a somber moment, but it was a rejoiced moment because when we reflected on his history and his contributions that he made as an assistant principal and athletic director at White Oak High School and eventually Clinton High School, his life was well lived in terms of the opportunities he afforded young athletes at the secondary level. So again, my prayers go out to his family. And then I had an opportunity to stand in your stead to bring greetings from the city with the new opening of the Hilton Hotel that's on the Parkway. It's a beautiful hotel that the festivities that happened this weekend with the Sports Hall of Fame was held there. So it's a very beautiful hotel, and I represented you well.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Mr. Thomas?
No report, thank you.
Mr. Warden?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just, I had an opportunity to represent the mayor and council, present a coin to Mr. Willie Harris, who was attending a fundraiser for cancer treatment for himself. He's a retired Marine and a retired Atlantic Beach police officer. So glad to do that. And I also wanted to thank Moore Buick for taking the time and the community spirit and the community caring to sponsor the fundraiser. They actually set a tent up and provided food and sold plates for folks to help in the care. So I appreciate, I know y'all do too, appreciate the caring that Moore Buick does for their community. So best wishes, Willie. Hope the cancer treatment goes good for you, and we're pulling for you. Thank you. That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Dr. Woodruff.
Mayor, members of council, we have several items under the One City moment, if I may roll those. First of all, several weeks ago, actually several months ago, the city was approached by the commander of the Naval Hospital, Captain James Hancock, about a program they were implementing called Stop the Bleed. As you know, over the last several months, we have now trained over 300 city employees in techniques that will help in case someone has a major issue where bleeding is the thing that needs to be addressed. I have some slides that will show you the expo that occurred back in March, and you can see in this that you have a number of our local service agencies, from the Red Cross to the city personnel. There's obviously a city police officer in that. The whole mission there's a person from the Naval Hospital. The whole mission was to teach people how to stop the bleed. While we hope that we will never have a major incident in this community as far as a mass shooting, there are many things that happen in the course of life where stop the bleed comes into play. For example, you know, you're out there and you're using a chainsaw and you cut your leg. Well, you may not realize that unlike a heart attack that you can, live a few minutes, your blood is completely spilled between 3 and 4 minutes. And once it's spilled, it doesn't matter how quickly the EMT gets to you, you don't just put that blood back in. So training people on how to stop major bleeding events is something that we've taken seriously with our city employees, and this event brought to a number of citizens throughout the community those techniques. Any other slides there, Glenn? Okay. Reunion tours. For a long time, the Jacksonville Tourism Authority has been talking about and trying to encourage veterans and other tours to come to Jacksonville. Very pleased to tell you that several weeks ago, we had about 250 people from the HMLA 164 group have a reunion here. And you can see that these are veterans and their families, and they, for most part, the first time they've ever come back to this community. Many of them served here during Vietnam or other wars. Some, obviously, we go all the way back to the Montford Point days. But through this, they saw the Freedom Fountain, they saw the Memorial Gardens, and it's just an example of the front door that we can host so many of these reunions. Now, sure, it brings heads on beds and it brings in TDA money, but that's not the issue. What it does is it gives people who served here 20, 30 years ago the opportunity to come back and revisit their memories, revisit their commitment, and to see the new Jacksonville, and also to see the many wonderful memorials that you as a council and others have helped to fund. Glenn? Recognitions. This past week, we held a volunteer recognition program over in the Jacksonville Conference Center. The mayor hosted the conference there where we had dinner and we had a guest speaker, Dr. Cicerone, who did, I thought, an outstanding job. And we had just a good time of fellowshipping with your advisory group. This is an annual event. There you can see the Reverend Dr. Brown, who gave the invocation. There's Dr. Cicerone, who gave the main address. And your volunteers were also recognized who helped establish the One City Committee. This is a committee, as you know, that has won now a national award that Ms. Washington received for us at the recent League of Cities meeting. But that is a wonderful thing for your One City campaign moment. The last thing I would like to mention is the issue of recycling. The first 3 months of this year, we had a pilot program that encouraged people to follow the new rules of the things that we recycle. Beginning on April the 1st, we quit being volunteer and went to mandatory. For those citizens out there who have found things left in their containers, feel good about the fact that Mayor Sammy Phillips also found his container with a sticker that said, "Oops." So, we all need to remember, here are the things that we can recycle.
Told her not to put it in there.
You know. They are the plastics 1 through 5 and 7. We'd like them empty and clean, please. Cardboard containers, empty and clean. Aluminum and metal cans, empty and clean. Cardboard boxes, preferably flattened. Glass of all colors, and again, empty and clean. And mixed paper, but please do not shred the paper. Newspapers and magazines continue to be acceptable, even if they have the glossy cover. Some exceptions. We won't mention pizza boxes.
Contributor.
And again, here's a list of acceptable items and unacceptable. Now, one comment that we get from citizens all the time is, I put these things in the plastic bag so they don't spill out from the truck. Well, guess what? That gets them rejected at the recycling center. If you want to put them in plastic bags and take them downstairs and then empty the plastic bag into the recycling container, fine, then throw that plastic bag in your garbage can. We've actually had very good compliance, and we appreciate the citizens doing that. We're currently setting up a meeting. Mr. Terrell is setting up a meeting with the recycling center to ask for a quarterly update to say, how have we done at the end of this first quarter of the new program? But overall, the citizens are being commended for the excellent way they've taken on the new regulations. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Mr. Carter? All right, with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.